Hello to our ladies and gentlemen, how are you? Today's session we are going to discuss on the most asked question by our followers. Most of you asked us to explain the reason why on the equator there is less weight, whereas at the North Pole there is high weight. What is the reason? And remind you that you can comment on our discussions, you can share our discussions in order to expand our science, our physics, our chemistry, our knowledge. Let's go ahead. So the distance from the center to the equator and the distance from the North Pole to the equator are not the same, isn't it? Let's look on centrifugal force and centripetal force. Centrifugal force, it is the force that pushes you away from the center of rotation in a circular motion. Centripetal force, it is the force that pulls toward the center. Centrifugal force and centripetal force are equal but in opposite direction. Centrifugal force is the force that tries to pull object toward the center of rotation in circular motion. Where do you have high centrifugal force between equator and North Pole? Due to the shape of Earth, our Earth, you know that Earth is ellipse, is more flattened at the North Pole, so that the distance from the center to the equator is high, whereas the distance from the North Pole to the center of the Earth is too low. Also, centrifugal force increases as the distance from the center of the Earth increases. So we tend to have high centrifugal force at the equator compared to the North Pole. So as we have high centrifugal force, also the acceleration due to gravity will decrease at the center, at the equator. Why do we feel with less weight on the equator than at the North Pole? It is because there is more centrifugal force at the equator to cancel the effect of gravity. Thus, the overall weight at the equator is lesser than at the North Pole. If at the equator the gravity is too low, also the centrifugal force is most high, it means that it is easy for the object at the equator to have less weight, as weight equals to mg. Gravity at the pole is larger than at the equator because the poles are closer to the center of the Earth due to the Earth's oblateness. Oblateness means that the Earth is more flattened at the North Pole compared to the equator. So at the equator, the gravitational force will be low because acceleration due to gravity increases as the distance separating the center decreases. The Earth is not perfectly spherical. The distance of the center from the pole is less than distance of the center from the equator. Since Allah is less in the pole, G will be higher, and Allah is more in equator, G will be lower. This is the reason. A rocket also are launched at the equator due to this reason. Most rockets are launched at the equator because at the equator there is less weight, so that the force, centrifugal force, is too high, so that it will push the rocket into space easily. This is the reason. In few, we feel less weight on the equator because the distance separating the equator and the center of the Earth is high. As the distance increases, also the acceleration due to gravity will decrease, and also the centrifugal force will be high. As the centrifugal force, it pushes the object at the equator to move freely. So it is very understandable that at the equator the centrifugal force is high and also the weight will be low. Let's shall meet another time and give us your comment. Next time we shall discuss on the difference between centripetal and the centrifugal force in the deep. Thank you so much. God be with you. Together we are